What was that red flag that you should have paid attention to from your ex? When I met her family, her grandma said out loud at dinner, "Try not to ruin this one. I like him." Should have listened to grandma. Obvious solution. Date her grandma. She clearly wants you. He had cheated on his wife, the mother of his children. He was insistent on introducing me to his children within 24 hours of meeting him. I asked how their mother would feel about that. He said that he didn't care. He talked about his ex constantly. He tried to play her off as mentally ill and crazy. He showed me a picture of her, and when I commented that she was pretty, he shrugged and said, "I already had that. I already had that." Dang, that's cold. He calmly told me, "Sometimes you make me so mad. I want to put your head through a wall." I never did anything to pee him off. Other people would pee him off and he would verbally take it out on me. Then one day, after an argument with his father, he slammed me into the counter and told me I deserved it. I broke up with him that night after I was a safe distance from him. But all the signs were there. Just dismiss them as him having a short temper. The difference between the men's answers and the women's in this thread are staggering. One of my exes would turn up with new expensive gifts from friends and relatives. He was a poor college student. His family didn't have much money, but he was given a couple of MacBooks, a nice Canon DSLR, a projector setup for his dorm room, and backpacking gear. A little fishy, but I didn't question it. First big red flag was when the university fired him from his stage management job because some laptops were stolen on his watch. The kid was a kleptomaniac. I didn't put everything together until he stole a $25,000 watch from a house I was house sitting. That was fun. She told me she was selfish. She said, "I don't know what it is. I have trouble understanding that other people have emotions that are different than mine." Now I'm pretty sure she was very high on the narcissism scale. At least she was aware of her problem. But I don't know enough about your situation to say anything more. I went out to a shooting range with a friend of mine one day. No cell reception for a few hours. When I got back into range, my phone had at least 20 texts and 5 voicemails from a girl I had started dating a month before, wanting to know why I wasn't responding to her. We dated another 10 months and I regret not taking this for a sign. Things only got worse. Alcoholism. Turns out I like to chill means I like to get sloppy drunk, stoned, and verbally abuse you, throw things at you, and let the scumbag neighbor into my panties when you finally stand up for yourself. That was my boyfriend a few years ago. Lots of fights, yelling, and threats later, and he stopped drinking more than 4 beers when he drinks. I should have broken up with him then, but I was too far from home and too broke to leave. But now he's the guy I thought he was in the beginning, and it's all good. He put me down a lot, mainly about my intelligence, got incredibly jealous, hardly ever listens to me, and is only interested in himself. I could go on, but this will turn into a massive rant. I'm not sure why I fell for him the first place, lol. She was rude to waiters. Oh, and she told me she wouldn't be with me if I didn't stop acting. So now I'm single anyway and training as an accountant. My fault though. Never let someone else dictate whether you pursue your dream. I'm of the belief that if you are rude to your waiter, waitress, or server, you are just not a nice person. Obviously if the waiter is a dong, this is different. Otherwise just be nice. Servers not slaves and all that. When she lied to the police and got me arrested, I spent the entirety of Christmas that year in jail. On a brighter note, if you do ever end up in jail, make sure it's on a holiday. Best jail dinner ever. The fact that he told me I know how to manipulate people and get them to do my bidding, it's so easy. When he told me he thought he should be on the cover of GQ magazine. When he told me how much he loves complimenting other women and making them feel good. While we were dating. The way he verbally abused the girl he was seeing before me. And I knew about it, but thought it would never happen to me. I could literally write a book about this guy. OP said flag, not flags. Come on now. A stranger once messaged me on Facebook saying that my then boyfriend added her and was messaging her as if he was single. Didn't think much of it at the time. In hindsight, what a creep. He pushed me for saying that I thought his dream of playing in the NFL was nice. He also got mad when guys wished me happy birthday on Facebook and wanted me to delete them, but he was allowed to have girls talk to him all the time. He made a Reddit account just to keep an eye on what I posted. Just a giant sack of controlling crap. Frick him. I recently got married to an amazing man. He shows me every day what a good relationship is supposed to be like. She was selfish. She told me, not too long in, that she only starting to talk to me regularly at work, we were co-workers, was because she wanted to order something from eBay and I had an established account. She had a bit of a pattern of using people. She was always looking for that next source of new and exciting. She would put down my hobbies and interests until I just stopped doing them around her. I saw all of this at the time but didn't take it serious enough. My mind told me that she's a bit of a mess, but she's my mess and I love her anyway, flaws and all. Then she got bored with me after my usefulness waned. She latched onto me because I gave her an escape from her crappy family life. I gave her love and they gave her grief. I moved her 4 hours away and gave her a calm life. Then she no longer needed me and started dating a guy who was a list of things that she said that she could never date. 10 years older, unemployed, no higher educations or job training, smoked heavily, and freaking married. They were doing their thing behind my and his wife's back. I was an idiot. 7 years of my life, ruined by the anger-tainted memories that she left me with in her wake. I gave her love, sincerity, and stability. She ended up giving me lies and cheating on me. We were the couple that her friends were jealous of, but looking back it was mostly because I was dang good to her and showed it in ways that her girlfriend's boyfriends didn't. And on the way out she had the audacity to ask if that whatever she headed toward didn't work out if she'd be able to come back to me. Number. Frick you. I'm glad you are free and you sound really nice. I hope you find someone that deserves you. Went camping the first month. Temperature dropped to near freezing after a cold front moved through in the middle of the night. I let her use my winter-rated sleeping bag. Woke up practically hypothermic and found her wrapped like a goddamned burrito sleeping like a champ on top of her sleeping bag. Every spare blanket in the tent and still inside my sleeping bag. She wouldn't budge. Not even to offer me a corner of a blanket. Got pissy because I woke her up. I finally had to get up and go sleep in the car with the engine running. She got furious when I opened the tent to leave. I should have driven the frick away and never looked back. You don't truly know someone until you have camped with them. That he loved tiny girls, small boobs, wasn't over his tiny ex. Loved preteen anime girls, wanted me to wear my hair in pigtails, and made jokes about fricking little girls. Yeah, being with him wasn't one of my proudest memories. Hey, this sounds like my first boyfriend. I was 15 and he got pissy when my already tiny T grew. I'm a really small girl. Now, he was also like 27, so things were already whack, but I was so attention starved I didn't see what was going on at the time. When I would ask him to not do something because it would upset me, he went out of his way to do it just to irritate me and wouldn't apologize afterward. Not in a joking matter either. X. This girl had a fairly fat butt. I agree. It was voluptuous and amazing. And he'd stare and look back at me and laugh. When I asked him to stop, he went up to her and talked to her. When I got upset, he ignored me and waited for me to apologize for being too sensitive. We're only human and we were made to procreate, so yes, we're going to look at other attractive people. Just don't make it obvious and purposely make me feel bad about myself for your own amusement because you get off on having power over me. When I got upset, he ignored me and waited for me to apologize for being too sensitive. Ugh, what an ass face. A few days after we got together, I caught her masturbating on webcam with a bunch of random dudes watching. I decided to let it go. My thoughts at the time were everyone needs a hobby and I do look at pee sometimes, so I figured it was just her thing. Plus she let me watch too and a few times I joined her on cam. So all's good, right? It was actually kinda fun. Turns out they weren't random dudes. She was meeting them once a week and fricking them in exchange for M. All the while, she told me she quit M and hadn't used since I asked her to stop. M. Frick that. I'm actually surprised I didn't pick up an illness from her. We fricked almost every day. Gross. When she told me that the reason she had originally started dating me was to get close to one of my friends while we were still dating. Oof. She had a bunch of communist flags. I mean, that had literally nothing to do with our breaking up, but they were pretty. I should have paid more attention. Wait, how are communist flags red flower? Oh wait, I see what you did there. When we were still flirting before we became official, she would text me constantly, literally all day every day. I'm the kind of person who always has my phone on me anyway, so I didn't mind or really think much about it. But then when we started dating, she ended up being the clingiest person ever, and I really shouldn't have been surprised. I was once with a guy who during the flirting phase got obviously upset if I didn't text him back within 5 minutes. The fact that she was cheating on her boyfriend with me. She eventually broke up with him for me, and then did the same thing to me with a new guy on the way out. And she was still married, 7 years separated, to her first husband through all of it, who happened to be a former member of a very major 90s band, and was apparently an abusive psycho, but cannot prove for sure. He might be a good guy, who knows. I don't know if you'd call it suborns or selfishness, maybe a mix of the two. In short, the lack of wanting to do something for someone else just for the sole purpose of making them happy. For example, one time I really wanted to go to Stars on Ice. He absolutely refused. It wasn't just like no thanks, but why would I ever do that, and my answer was to make me happy. It'd go see insert fav team here with you on occasion to make you happy, even though it's not my fav thing ever. He said, well, I don't do anything I don't want to do, but I mean, don't you ever do something because you want to make someone else happy? Nope. It seemed like such a small thing at the time, but that argument was very telling. This hits home. He told me he had an addictive personality. I wasn't allowed to act like I knew him if we were in public. If he didn't like how I did my hair outfit, he wouldn't hesitate to tell me. All the times he yelled at me or made me cry, especially in front of people, telling me to feel sorry for anything that didn't go his way. If he really cared, he wouldn't have cheated on me. Everybody turns into their parents. I saw all of these and thought they were solitary events. Eventually I got used to it, but I always thought, hey, something isn't right. And looking back, he was borderline emotionally abusive to me. But I never gave much thought as to what I could be because I didn't feel like I could do anything unless he approved of it first. I still don't think he's a terrible person, but I'm glad I got out of him when I did. I still don't think he's a terrible person. He's a terrible person. There's no excuse for yelling at you and making you cry in public. Stockpiling dirty dishes in the bedroom. He would eat pasta and cereal and whatever else all day and leave the bowls and plates on the carpet by his computer. Sometimes I'd go to use cutlery in the kitchen and he would have hoarded it all. It's just so lazy and inconsiderate. You're the first date I've been on since my divorce. Yup, ended up being her rebound guy instead of the serious relationship I was looking for. It's hard to narrow it down to one, to be honest. WoW player, never held a job or moved out of his house, had a mysterious condition that only sparked up when he didn't want to do something, and of course doctors never detected a thing, but they were stupid. Couldn't drive on the freeways when we lived in SoCal. Sockle, there's nothing but freeways. Got sulky jealous if I met up with my guy friends. I guess the biggest red flag, though, was that he had no problem with me making myself miserable at awful, dead-end jobs while he slept in and played WoW every day. All in all, I don't regret it. I was young and it taught me a lot of lessons about what to expect, demand in a relationship. Where to start? He told me he was organized but wasn't, at all. He tried telling me how to dress. He tried telling me how to act. He blamed everything on everyone else. Nothing was ever his fault. Massive chip on his shoulder. He would get his phone out at dinner in a restaurant and go on Facebook. When she told me about this great little cafe she and my mom had lunch together at earlier that day. For your information, it was the first week of meeting each other and we had gone on one date. I don't even know how she got my mom's contact info. He was a liar, lied about his age. When I met him, I was 24 and he said he was 29. After a year of dating, I accidentally saw his driver's license and saw that he was really 33. I was young and thought it was cute. He really liked me and wanted to be with me so much he fibbed about his age. Turns out he was a compulsive liar about tons of stupid things. A few years ago, I saw his profile on a dating site. It said that he was 35 years old and looking for a girl 21-35. That liar was not 35, but at the time he was 45. I get so mad thinking of all the time I wasted with that liar. I recently saw my ex's new bandmates wishing him a happy 25th birthday on FB. I almost died wheezing. She was in a cult. She would get angry at her mother for no reason, then not speak to her for a year. She was cold like a statue, never affectionate. I don't really get along well with girls that plan ahead for everything. I understand how some people might love that, but I'm kind of lazy and stuff. Anyways, my ex-girlfriend made lists. She made them for everything. Each day there would be a new list with dozens of items on it, including bathroom breaks during her day. Once one of the items on her list was make tomorrow's list. That's when I figured we weren't very compatible. Sounds super silly, but when my ex got back from a trip I went over to her house when she let me know she had landed, like we planned. Hour or so later she gets home and we're hanging out like usual. She goes to grab something and I go to check my phone. Both have 5S, same background, no password. Ended up being her phone. I open the phone and it's on the message app. There's 2 sent that day, one to her closest male friend and one to me. Except his was first. Super minor, I know, but for some reason I had a bad feeling about it. Fast forward 6 weeks. I leave for 2 months to travel. 1 week later her best friend texts me saying she caught her fricking him in the bathroom at a party. Just so everyone knows, being 19 in Europe on the rebound is fricking awesome. I would get the opportunity to go on trips with some of my friends on different weekends. And I would ask him if he was alright with me going or if he wanted us to spend the weekend together, since our schedules were so sporadic that we tried to get time together where we could. He'd always tell me to go, and then he would guilt trip me via text message the entire weekend. Also, one of his ex-girlfriends warned me at the very start of our relationship about how he handled breakups, but I thought she was being spiteful and trying to put a wedge between us. And then he followed the exact behavior pattern she had laid out. Also, he didn't maintain an active Facebook page at all, but a couple of months before we broke up he started being more active and posting a lot of pictures taken by his lesbian co-worker after he added her. I was the passenger in a car that flipped on its side. Boyfriend dropped me off at the curb and left because he was too tired to deal. We continued to date for another year, young and dumb. Everything everyone before me has written, but the first one, when he asked me out to dinner on a first date. He picked me up the next night and asked, "What do you want to do?" I said, "You asked me out to dinner." He said, "I already ate, but I guess I could eat dessert while you eat dinner." What the crap, bro? She had BPD and would have emotional outbursts over trivial bulls, and then threatened to cheat on me when I disagreed. 4 years of my life wasted. Also her refusing to delete her Cupid because she wanted friends. Also, her keeping white knights orbiting around her as friends. Word of advice guys, when a woman keeps a bunch of white knights around her and it's painfully obvious they are obsessed with her and she denies it, just walk away. She freaking knows she just wants the attention. Just stand directly in front of them. They can only move in an L shape. Bought into every single conspiracy theory. Chemtrails, New World Order, Jews as rulers of the world, reptilian overlords running the world, not Jewish lizards though, microwaves causing cancer. I probably should have paid attention to the fact that she admitted to my face that she has a crush on someone else. Later told me that she cheated on me for him, but at least she was nice enough to tell me, TL, DR, BTW, I'm cheating on you. His brother told me I was too good for him. I finally bailed when he told his 5-year-old son to shut the frick up when he was crying for his mother. Probably that he told me about his savior complex on the first date, moved things incredibly fast, and told me multiple stories of violence being inflicted on him or by him. People I barely knew telling me that she was freaking insane and would ruin my life. All of her exes were buttholes who treated her like crap and she didn't do anything to deserve it. She would often say the only thing that makes me happy is shopping, or what I want I get. She had a really bad childhood and would constantly use that as an excuse for anything she did to make people feel sympathy for her. She got married when she was 21 and cheated on her husband after being married less than a year. She used to think every guy was checking her out if they were looking slightly in her direction and used to get really aggressive and want me to start a fight with them. He was cheap. Too cheap. As in, we couldn't go get Burger King because he didn't want to spend money on it, or drive down the street too far because it would waste gas. I am not into a man for money, but it was just outrageous how cheap this man was. when she told me I just don't bother responding to people when I lose interest, as she told me about the communication with her ex-boyfriends. I laughed, but she ended up doing that to me too. His own sister told me that she loved him, but he was the most selfish person she knew and that I'd be better off without him. It could be one of a few things. One, that she always got on me about wearing my deceased dad's gold wedding ring on my silver necklace. I do it as a tribute, and to her it was tacky. She once blew me in my living room while her toddler wandered my house unsupervised, which segues perfectly to the big one. She was cheating on her fiancé with me 3 different times. The last after they got married. No, I'm not claiming to be innocent, but just answering the question. If you are new to the channel, you can subscribe. I publish new videos every day. Until then, check another video. Bye for now.